Hi, everybody. This is Pasquale Scopolidi today as an ambassador for Veterans for America First, and I have the pleasure of interviewing Ammon Bundy. And in our conversation a little bit before we started our interview here, Ammon had a wonderful way of introducing himself. So I'm going to ask you to hit it right now, and then we'll dive into some question areas.
Well, my name is Ammon Bundy. Number one, I'm a husband. I'm a father of six children, and I'm also live in Idaho, and I love Idaho, and I love my country, and uh, and all I want to do, and my entire desire is just to preserve the many blessings that I have enjoyed in my lifetime, to preserve and pass those on to my children. And I see how they are greatly, greatly under threat. And so that motivates me to act. I'm a person that believes that if you do not act, that you are acted upon. And so therefore it is the duty of each of us to act and to do all we can um, to preserve our liberty so that we can choose to love God, serve God, worship God, and to be free and enjoy these blessings that this country, this land has provided to us for many generations.
Thanks, Ammon. That's extremely interesting. My understanding is you've never run for office before. What made you shoot all the way to the level of governor?
Well, so I did run for office before. I ran for student body president in my high school.
Aha! Did
And
you
you
win?
know that must qualify me for running for governor right now. And I did win. I did
Hey,
win.
hey!
Yeah, I did
Me
win.
too, by the way.
No, I don't claim that as any type of qualification for running for governor. If I was to try to qualify myself for running for governor, it's that I've built two multi-million dollar businesses from scratch up. I've employed hundreds of people. I've dealt with millions of dollars in budgets and procedures and processes. That would probably be more than anything qualifying me as far as the CEO qualifications.
Mhm.
However, I will also say this, that I have been exposed in many ways to the corruption of government, and I understand it probably better than most people will ever understand it because of what has happened to me and my family. And I'm glad that most people will never understand it in those ways. I spent 2 years in federal prison. I was never convicted of even a misdemeanor.
Hmm.
I was never convicted of anything, but I still spent that time in there away from my families, my father and brothers and other friends as well, because they falsely accused us. And then I've been fighting them ever since and standing for people. And I see the difference between, people who are truly in the government, they're defending and fighting for freedom, and those who are not. And I believe that, the veterans for America are a group of people that are patriots
You
and
bet.
truly want liberty, and that's what they're about. And that's why I'm excited for this interview.
Well, they swore not only to defend and protect the Constitution, but with their very lives and blood on the line, life and limb. And I'm truly honored to participate together with the veterans. I'm not a veteran myself, never had the honor of the uniform. But you will be, once elected as governor of Idaho, you will be the chief commander of the Idaho National Guard. Is that not correct?
That's correct. Yeah, and that's a extremely sobering position, and one that is extremely important because ultimately the Idaho National Guard, is there to protect people's life, to protect their liberty and their property, which is the opposite of communism and socialism. And therefore, I believe that it is something that we must be highly aware of, because if we allow this infiltration of this extreme leftist agenda to come into Idaho and to continue to come into our country, we will not have life that's worth much. We will not have liberty, and we will not have property.
I'm aware of the fact that you have created an oath of your own, as I recall, to law enforcement and peace officers with your police force in Idaho and sheriff's force. Does that extend to the military as well? And tell us a little bit about your oath and how you came to create and give that oath.
Yeah, so it does cover or extend to all those who take an oath to the Constitution. And what it is what we see that our servicemen, if you will, whether in peace officer or in the military, they're constantly being put into terrible situations where they're having to choose whether they're going to uphold their oath of office or they're going to obey a commanding officer. And I don't believe that they should be put in that position. I think it's an incorrect position to put someone in. For example, the governor here issued a stay-at-home order and ordered the sheriffs, the chiefs of police, and the Idaho State Police to arrest people who, for example, like pastors in Idaho that were organizing church services outside. And so, for example, they had to go, they were under order to go arrest these pastors. And it's a complete violation of both their oath to the United States Constitution and to the Idaho Constitution. And they should have said no, and maybe some of them did. But we know that if they say no right now, they are, put under strict supervision. They're reprimanded. And many times they lose their job. And so I do not believe that that should happen. So my oath as governor would be to them that I will protect them when they uphold their oath of office. And I think by doing this, that officers will then begin to say no to superior officers that are wanting them to clearly violate their oath of office. They'll be able to say no and have the legal support. They'll be able to have the financial support. They'll be able to have the political support of the office of the governor.
That's
and the Attorney General's office.
I've never heard of any other executive in elected government to provide such an oath. Has anyone else ever done this?
Not that I know of, but I believe it'll completely change the culture within, those who have taken oath to the Constitution, our officers, because it'll send a message to the superiors that are trying to push, and the bureaucrats that are trying to push their will upon the people and use the officers for their tools. It'll send a message to them that we better not do it, because those that have taken the oath will say no. And that's what we need. That's what the people need. It's so important. And we should not be requiring people to take an oath, which is their obligation to God. That's what an oath is, their obligation to God. We shouldn't be requiring people to take an obligation to God and then having our superiors directly order them to violate that oath. And that's just one of the things. There's nobody who's more pro law enforcement, if you will. And I hate to use the word law enforcement because I don't believe that that's what they were designed to do. They're supposed to be peace officers, and they were supposed to protect life, to protect liberty, protect property. And the law sometimes is the tyrant's tool, as Thomas Jefferson said. The individual rights are the ones that should be protected by these officers. So I hesitate saying that, but it is a word that we use, and people know what it means. And no one is more pro officer than I am, and I'm willing to back it up with my oath and with any power that I will have to protect them when they are upholding their oath.
In your self-introduction, and again, just now, you emphasized the nature of the oath to God, and you stated previously that you're a man of faith. Can you share a little bit with our veterans how faith guides you and affects you, and where you stand relative to faith as an executive of a state?
Yeah, I think the Declaration of Independence probably best outlines what I believe, and I believe it not just because it's a founding document or it's something that's popular. I truly believe that I have a creator. I call him God. I call him my father. That he has a son, Jesus Christ, that played an extremely important role in my success in being able to return back to my Heavenly Father. Um, and that God, our Father, gave us rights. And among these rights are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, to be able to own and control property, to be able to have our children, to be able to live freely, to decide what we're going to do with our time, how we're going to think, how we're going to act, how the protection of choice. I believe that God our Father gave us these rights, that they are inalienable, meaning they should not be alienated. We should not be separated from them. And that in order to protect these rights, that man created government, and that they created this structure of government so that the unity of people and a power that can protect these rights that God gave us, and that it's not the other way around, that the government is the consent of the governed, and also to further on to identify what the Declaration of Independence says is that there is times when these institutions, these governments stop protecting life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and therefore it is the right of the people who are the creator of the government to alter or abolish it. And that is what we are to do. That is our duty, because liberty, which is an endowment from God, is most important to protect. And why I honor our veterans so much is that they were willing to give up their first gift from God, which is life, for liberty, so that I can have liberty. Literally, that they are willing to give up their life so that I and my family and others can have liberty and peace and pursue happiness. That is the greatest gift that a person can give, and that's why I honor them so much. And that's why I hate when someone wants to say that I am anti-law enforcement or that I'm against that in any way. It is an absolute lie. It's just I know that law enforcement out of control or a military force out of control is extremely, extremely dangerous. But that doesn't defer my honor for those who are willing to give up their life for my liberty.
Thank you. I really appreciate that you've shared with us your values and your beliefs and where you stand personally and some of your philosophy of leadership in government. And on that note, and as we wind down our short amount of time together here today, would you be able to share your vision for what you will accomplish as governor and how Idaho will be affected by your leadership?
So Idaho has never reached its full potential. It's a tremendous state with tremendous people and an immense amount of natural resources. Idaho has not, and yet we've been literally controlled by the federal government most of our existence. 61% of our land is controlled by the federal government. 72% of our subsurface mineral rights are claimed by the federal government. We have to go to the federal government to pay a third of our bills every year. And we are held under this like thumb of the federal government. And I plan on breaking free from that and constitutionally putting the federal government in the box that they're supposed to, and being able to expand our reach and our resources and our economic the economic possibilities here in Idaho are tremendous. But not only that is also get the state doing what it's supposed to be doing, which is protecting the individual's rights so that our property rights are secure, so that our families and our children are protected, and so that we're basically living very free, having tons of opportunity, and the government is, what are they doing? What they're supposed to do, making sure that we are that crime is not rampant and suppressed, making sure that we have access to our rights, to our properties, making sure that that any power outside the state is not coming down in and trying to threaten it, which is a great concern. These are the things that fundamentally that our government should be doing, and I plan on doing that as governor. And what we will see we will see prosperity and peace that we've never ever experienced here in Idaho. It'll be tremendous. There will be enough wealth and prosperity to share, and people outside of Idaho will see it as like a great example and say, look what the people in Idaho are doing. Let's do the same thing, and we'll relight this flame of freedom again.
Briefly, I'm also aware of the fact that you have what one might consider a very aggressive tax plan, or well, put it in your own words for us. Tell us about what you're going to do with taxes very briefly, and then I'll give you a closing word.
So if people go to votebundy.com, and they go to my plan, the Keep Idaho plan, this is all laid out. This plan was 7 years in the making. There's many hands in it that I trust, and I've been able to put this together, and it is a plan that I think that any country or any state should implement, and that will bring about peace and prosperity that we haven't seen since the early days of this country. And why? Because the same principles were applied back then, and the people we have been blessed because of that. Still today, we're living off the coattails of what was accomplished clear back then, and that was because they applied principles. Now, when it comes to taxes, the elimination of property tax, I believe that the only moral way, the elimination and replacing it with a consumption tax, because I believe the only way to morally tax a people is through consumption. And there's many ways, but it really comes down to freedom to decide when you're going to buy something, and then you pay a tax on it as well. And the state then is also funded that way and motivated for people to prosper, for people to for business and economics to prosper, rather than just basically stealing from people every year, no matter what they do, no matter what the government does, good or bad. And there's a lot of that in my Keep Idaho plan. And I believe if you, again, implement this plan or these principles, that people will prosper, that freedom will reign, and that people will look at Idaho as a great example of how to do things. And we need that. Boy, do we need that.
Can I ask you, lastly here, do you know how many veterans live and reside in Idaho? Do you have any idea?
I don't know the exact number. I know it's a tremendous amount. We have a lot of patriots, and Idaho is where people are going to, because they feel like it's kind of one of those last holdouts, and it's also a place where even the rich are coming here because they are looking. They know what's going to happen in this country. They know what's about to come, and they're coming here kind of as looking for doomsday property, because Idaho is a great place to be, and people, which I don't want it to be a doomsday. I don't think it should be. I think we have a great opportunity to reverse what is happening, but it's got to start somewhere. And I believe it needs to start.
On that note, I wanted to ask you, our veterans are, we're a national organization, and we've got veterans in every part of our nation, from every demographic, from every race and gender and creed. So we are a very broad national organization. So the majority of our people, or those that'll be viewing this interview, are very likely not residents of Idaho. Can I ask you to close out for us with why they should support you? People all around America, our veterans all around America, and what forms of support you might request from them.
Yeah, so I believe that people around the country should support my run for governor, because and this might sound a little shallow at first, but basically, you're going to get the best bang for your buck here. If you contribute to my campaign, go to votebundy.com. You can contribute. Whatever you can contribute. One is it's going to go very far in our messaging. And if you have any question, go to votebundy.com. Start clicking on what content, what videos, what we're doing, and you will see what I'm talking about. Not only that, is we have the best chance in the entire world to turn this tide around that we're seeing sweeping the country and sweeping our the world, we have the best chance because the people in here, there's more of a concentration of conservatives in Idaho than anywhere else in the world. And I have a real
I didn't know
strong
that.
shot at, yeah, absolutely. I have a real strong shot at becoming governor here and being able to do these things. And so it needs to start somewhere. It needs to be able to, when you plant a seed and you need it to grow, it has to be in good fertile ground where it can actually thrive.
Yes.
The Lord talks about this, about the seeds being cast among, the birds, among the thorns and the rocks. Well, Idaho, when it comes to conservative values, is good fertile ground where it can grow and where the rest of the world can see, okay, this is what we should do, just like the United States was, a couple hundred years ago. And so that's why it is very important that people from outside the state support me, even though they're not going to be able to vote. Spread the message, but also go there and contribute. If they do this, this is a great chance to tear down this terrible leftist agenda that is taking over our nation.
Awesome. Well, I can't thank you enough. I do want to encourage all of our viewers to capture any of the stories at the votebundy.com website. And most especially, there's an amazing slew of videos coming out that the Bundy campaign has put together. You're going to love those videos, and you're absolutely going to want to share those on your socials. So
if you,
thanks again.
just kind of aside, if they subscribe, then they'll be informed right off the bat. So if you subscribe to my emails, you'll be one of the first to get the latest information that we're pushing out.
So that's right there on the front page along with the donation? Yes?
Yeah, you just scroll on the right-hand side, you scroll down a little bit, there's a big blue button that says receive Ammon's messages or emails or something to that.
Fantastic. Well, I encourage all of our viewers to do that. All of our wonderful veterans around the nation. And on behalf of Veterans for America First, Ammon, I want to thank you from my heart for taking your time to share this message with us. And I hope that our message gets out all around the nation and that everyone signs up to support you and receive your information and hits those socials and talks about it with the friends and family all over, and especially friends and family in Idaho who can vote for you too.
Thank you, Pasquale. It was my pleasure.
Thanks so much, Ammon.